Good evening, everybody. Good morning to some of you with us. I welcome all of you to lecture 16. It's more a presentation than a lecture by Ulrich Session, Deepu and Nirav from the peer-to-peer deaf multiliteracy research group. As you all know, today is a very important day. We are celebrating the International Day of Sign Languages. As most of you know, the United Nations General Assembly has proclaimed 23rd September as the International Day of Sign Languages in order to raise awareness of the importance of sign language and to support and protect the linguistic identity and cultural diversity of all deaf people and other sign language users. The 2021 theme declared by the World Federation of the Deaf is We Sign for Human Rights. This highlights how the deaf and hearing people around the world can work together hand in hand to promote the recognition of their rights to use sign languages in all areas of life. There are more than 70 million deaf people worldwide. More than 80% of them live in developing countries. 300 different sign languages are in use. The International Day of Sign Languages was celebrated in 2018 as part of the International Week of the Deaf, which itself was celebrated in September 1958, which led to the evolution of a global movement of deaf unity over the last few decades. There are many events scheduled in various parts of the world to commemorate this day. The World Federation of Deaf, WFD, and the United Nations Office at Geneva, UNOG, are organizing a webinar today, the 23rd September 2021, at 8 a.m. USA time, with an open invitation to the public to join the deliberations. The CIL is pleased to organize the 16th lecture of the Foundation Day lecture series on this internationally important day with a goal to raise awareness of the importance of sign languages. I personally was inspired to schedule a lecture on this theme because of Professor Venkatesha Murthy, our former director, who was very keen in emphasizing the need for CIL to undertake large-scale activities to promote Indian Sign Language and also for recommending that there should be a place for the Department of Indian Sign Language in the proposed Bharatiya Bhasha Vishwavidyalaya. Thanks to him for his support in this important matter, the CIL, of course, through one of its Center of Language Planning, Policies and Social Linguistics, has plans to work with the Indian Sign Language community to help them use their fullest linguistic and cultural rights in the society by undertaking several projects in collaboration with the association, the Indian Sign Language Association. We may also explore the possibilities of signing MOUs with them. I was lucky enough to spot Ulrike Sheshan and her team through my dear friend and colleague Tanmay Bhattacharya. Thanks, Tanmay, for putting us in touch with an excellent team who are working for the cause of the deaf community. And I also thank Ulrike for choosing today the right day for your team's presentation. I must confess here that Ulrike and her team was supposed to deliver a lecture a few days back, but since Ulrike said it would be very appropriate to have it on the International Day of Sign Language Day, we have scheduled it for today. Now, with these few words, I welcome all of you to today's presentation. I request CIL Director, Professor Shailendra Mohan, to say a few words.
Namaskar. Good afternoon. Professor Ulrike Seshan, today's guest of honor, and Deepu and Nirav Pal, sign language interpreters Saurav Rai Chaudhary and Alka Nanda Joshi, esteemed colleagues at CIL, friends, and virtual participants. I welcome you all on International Sign Language Day. My best wishes to you all on this day. Use sign language and let your accents convey your feelings. I take this opportunity to extend our warm welcome to Professor Ulrike Seshan and her team to speak on research, practice, and innovation in deaf multiliteracies. It is indeed a real privilege for all of us to listen to Professor Ulrike on this occasion. The topic is of great interest to all of us. It is relevant to note that Professor Ulrike's area of research and academic contribution is related to sign language. She is a well-known scholar in the sign language studies. We are thankful to you, Professor Ulrike, and thankful to Professor Ulrike and her team for agreeing to deliver a lecture under the auspices of 53rd Foundation Day Lecture Series organized by Central Institute of Indian Languages, Mysore. Friends, as we know, sign language research has come a long way, branching into many disciplines from psycholinguistics, language typology to gesture studies, and it has contributed in making the wider linguistic community aware of the significance of sign language and sign language data for other areas of linguistics. Sign language research has always been closely linked to the communities in which these languages are primary means of communication. The finding that speech and sign are both vehicles for language is one of the most crucial empirical discoveries in area of linguistics. It is crucial because it alters our very definition of what language is. Thanks to Professor Ulrike and other scholars in the field for making such an important contribution in attempting to bring sign language linguistics and spoken language linguistics closer together. As we know, India is a land of languages, and Indian linguistic tradition is recognized across the worldwide. We as a civilization have always attached great value to knowledge, especially in linguistic traditions. CIL Mysore for the last 52 years is engaged in the promotion of all Indian languages. As a language institute, it is imperative for all of us to understand various dimensions of human language, irrespective of modalities in which they are expressed. The National Education Policy 2020 also clearly reflects the affirmative action plan that Government of India has for sign language. She has also encouraged the research on and practice of sign language and intends to build a sizable corpus of sign language for the purpose of standardization of Indian sign language and its varieties. Once again, we are thankful to Professor Ulrike Seshan and her team for sharing their valuable time with us. Welcome, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes. So I take this opportunity to introduce Professor Ulrike Seshan and the team to you very briefly because we have already lost some time. Ulrike is a professor of sign language linguistics and co-director of the International Institute of Sign Languages and Deaf Studies. Her team has pioneered research in the comparative study of sign languages worldwide and in the multilingualism of deaf sign language users. Ulrike is also co-director of the Transdisciplinary Institute of Citizenship, Society and Change. She is a member of the European Academy of Sciences and has been awarded an honorary OBE. She is committed to supporting deaf people both as staff and as research degree students at the Islands Institute. Over the years, she has supervised MA, MPhil, and PhD projects undertaken by deaf people from Uganda, India, Japan, Israel, Turkey, and the UK. As co-director of the Institute of Citizenship, Society, and Change, Ulrike's role has included the launch of a research satellite called Alter Next, which is located on an eco-village campus in rural eastern India. Thank you so much for choosing India as the place for your campus. We are so proud of it. Before coming to the University of Central Lancashire, she headed a research group on comparative study of sign languages at the Max Planck Institute for Psycholinguistics in the Netherlands. She has worked on different initiatives for the development of training curricula and for the implementation of training programs in Ghana, Uganda, India, and Turkey. Together with Indian partners, Ulrike and her colleagues developed and implemented India's first BA in Applied Sign Language Studies, a unique program that graduated students from 10 different countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America until 2015. Since then, her applied research has focused on literacy and deaf peer education in countries of the global south. Ulrike has worked as a consultant for the UNESCO's World Atlas of the World Languages in 2017. She is editor-in-chief of the Ishara Press, a social enterprise in the UK, a co-editor of the Sign Language Typology series and Sign Languages and Deaf Community series by De Gruyter, Mouton and Ishara Press. In 2014, she was elected to the Academia Europaea. In 2015, she was awarded an honorary OBE for services to higher education and international deaf communities. She has been awarded with the Turkish Presidential Medal for work in the disability sector in 2004 as well. There are several contributions of her which are internationally reputed for areas of research interest or sign language linguistics, language endangerment, multilingualism, alternative education approaches, serious games, co-creative facilitation, etc. She has completed several important research projects in the world, mostly on sign languages. Her CV is very huge and her publications list is also very long. We are very much honored and privileged to have Professor Ulrike Session with us today. With these few words, I welcome you on behalf of my institute and my country to spend your valuable time on the International Day of Sign Languages with us. I also welcome the other team members, Deepu Manavala Mamuni and Nirav Pal, who are both going to be with us and they are deaf presenters. We are looking forward to listen to you. We are very much humbled that you could come and join us today on this day. And I also welcome the two signers. We have Saurav and Alka with us. Thank you for the whole team. And now I hand over the platform to Ulrike. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can we have Saurav in my place?
Interpreters want to switch.
Yeah, Saurav is coming for you.
Yes. Yes, so thank you so much for this introduction. And I'm very grateful to CIIL that you have chosen this lecture series to include sign languages today as a topic. Can I ask that the PowerPoint slides can be put in the screen? Thank you. I will give a brief introduction to our topic today, which is called Research, Practice and Innovation in Deaf Multiliteracies. And it is only fitting that the research being on sign language with deaf communities should be presented by deaf researchers in their own sign language about the research that we have done together over the past 5 years. Next slide. I would like to also acknowledge all our partners in India. There's quite a long list of partner organizations, which you can see here on the screen. And all of these organizations have helped us organize the research, have hosted the group of various groups of learners, and have supported our innovations in many ways, because we also aimed at not only doing research and looking at data, but also changing and innovating practice. So by way of a very short introduction, we can see on the next slide, please, what we mean by literacy and multiliteracies. Yes, one more, next slide, please. So just as a very non-technical brief point, what do we mean when we talk about literacy normally? We talk about reading and writing in the first place. And more recently, we also have digital literacy and numerical literacy or numeracy as important concepts, extensions from literacy. But reading and writing is always central. And the main point of our research with deaf communities is to extend the concept of reading and writing in a narrower sense to a broader sense of all the different ways in which people can learn and communicate and use language and different ways of expression. So this includes all the things you can see on the other side of the table. So it includes, of course, primarily sign language, finger spelling, gesturing. It includes also drawing and visual art, even acting, digital and numerical literacy, all uses of ICT, new media, and so on. So managing all these different ways of communicating, having a toolbox and repertoire for our deaf learners to develop in a more integrated and holistic way. This has been the aim of our research. We have also collaborated with other groups in other countries, in Ghana and in Uganda, but today we focus on our work in India. We have worked both with young deaf adults and with deaf children at primary school. And in the presentations that will follow now, you can see examples of this work. We will have 2 presentations in sign language with a voiceover by the interpreters. and then I'll come back with a brief summary, and we can then enter question and answer session. Thank you also to CIIL for all the technical support. And I now hand over for the first presentation to Nirav. And if you please show the PowerPoint of his presentation and pin Nirav to the inset window. Thank you, and I hope everyone enjoys the presentation.
Nirav is muted. Huh? He doesn't want it.
Sir, you have to put Nirav on spotlight, Tejas sir, or can everybody see Nirav?
We can see, but he's muted. Is that choice? I mean, he wants to just communicate in sign language, I presume.
He'll be signing, but he needs to be in that inset window. Yes, correct now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Ulrike. I will now start with my presentation. Thank you so much, of course, to CIIL for having us here. We want to share some very critical findings and important information with all of you. So thank you for giving us the opportunity. As you see from the topic, tracking learning with primary school children. We were in Odisha at a deaf school. It's called the Happy Hands School for the Deaf, HHST, established in 2016. And we have been working, I mean, this research specifically is from 2016, 17, 18, 19, about 4 years of what the school 2016 to 2020. And our work started with 2017, the P2P project, Deaf Multiliteracies, and we worked from 2017 to 2018. And we will share details from these 2 years. Next slide, please. So the 2-3 years which we have had, we have basically what we used was called the language ladder. The Department of Children, Schools and Families 2017. That's where we found the language ladder. And this is basically a way of sequencing and understanding how deaf children learn language. And there is a system, there is a kind of a matrix where we measure the development of these children. It's only for children, not for adult language learners. So again, the concept of multiliteracy is that we do not want to focus on the traditional methods of literacy, reading and writing, because deaf children learn in multiple ways, in multiple modalities, which includes drawing, art, gesturing, and vivid forms of communication. And that is what we were actually testing. That is what we wanted to know. So if this can become a formal setup, because the other standard is just about checking the right and wrong in a measured system, you know, the kind of examinations which we have. But those things kind of develop sense of anxiety in children, which we did not want. We were totally against developing, giving this kind of a pressured environment. And we wanted to see children in this kind of an environment where they're having an enjoyable learning experience, and we are also measuring the learning. Next slide, please. So 2016, 17, and 18, what we actually found was that we had two groups basically. In 2016, the cohort, there were 3 classes and there were 12 students. So that was 3 classes, 2016 batch, 17 batch, and 18 batch. And the other 2018 cohort, there were only 2 classes. In the 2016 cohort, there were a total of 12 students. In 2018 cohort, there were 10 students. Then again, you know that deaf children, you know, they are coming to school at various ages. So we did not want to put them in different classes in the basis of age alone, but it was a combination. So there was a wide age range. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. The procedures which we used for testing were through multi-literacies tasks, which were meaningful and familiar to the children, you know. It could be a lot of things. It could be a picture from the phone. It could be a poster in the school. It was life, you know, what they saw around, real life English. And we would have mix of modalities. When we say that, that means we were signing, we were finger spelling. If there was no sign, we couldn't understand. We were writing and drawing as well. So not the traditional, only 2 methods of literacy, that is reading and writing, not that. Next slide, please. So our testing procedures, what we were using was UK based, developed by experts in UK. But what we tried was we wanted to match the level of the children. Whatever kind of activities we gave to them, we had, you know, tried to understand their language level, and only then, you know, we would give the test. So we will modify the test accordingly. Next slide, please. In these tests, what we were actually trying to understand were 3 things. First was involvement, and second was the achievement. How much were the children involved? How much were they? How much did they achieve? If they were involved, totally involved in their you know, activity, they would get 2 marks. It would only partially involved, they would get 1 mark. That's how we measured that. Next slide, please. You see, we have 3 tests here. First in black, then in gray, and then in white. So when the kids joined school, we had the pre-test. Then after 1 year, we had the first post-test. And after 8 months, we had the second post-test. These were the 3 tests which we had. The first one was as soon as, you know, the children joined school. And we would have 6 reading activities and 6 writing activities. Same in the first post-test, but in the second post-test, due to COVID, we could have only 2 reading and 2 writing activities. So 3 different with the same cohort, three tests. Next slide, please. The first pre-tests, you know, the 6 writing tests or the 6 reading activities which we had. Same with the first post-test For example, they have a drawing. Do they understand what is there in the drawing? Can they sign what is there in the drawing? There were 6 such
Different games.
so we have to see that she would have to see some kind of a picture, and there would be no words. They would have to identify the names. So there would be flashcards and they would have to put the names. If they were able to do that totally, so that would be one test. Like this, we had 6 separate tests in both the pre-test and the first post-test. But in the second post-test, what we did, we identified, and it was possible then in the first pre-test and in the first pre-test that the child did very well. And what they would do, they would have the same thing in the first post-test as well, but they would change a little bit to see whether the child is able to grasp the concept or not. Next slide, please. So what you see in black was the involvement. This is only the 2016 cohort, the involvement. In the pre-test, you see it there, 1.5, somewhere in 1.75. But the first post-test, you see the involvement has increased. The first time when they came to school, they didn't understand the activity or they were hesitant. But within a few months, all of them understood what was supposed to be done. They learned from their peers. So the involvement, there is valid proof that the involvement is better. Within 1 year of the students coming into school. And this is only the next, you will see in reading, writing as well, the increase.
The PPT is not visible now. The PPT is not visible. You are coming in the screen, in a larger screen. Saurav is there. So the PPT is not visible.
We can't see the PPT.
Now I'm visible. Now you are visible. Ma'am or sir, we can't see the PPT. Can we switch the PPT, please?
Tejas, can you reload it?
Yes. Okay, great. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Yes, there, that is it. One more, please. Yes, that's the one. So we were first talking about the involvement and the increase in involvement within 1 year. And the second now is the achievement in writing the tests which we were used. You see how there is an increase in all the tests, in the pre, post, as well as the second post. Because once the children started understanding the things, the pictures, the items, and they knew the signs for them, they started interacting and they started working. They started studying and learning. So this is the 2016 cohort, 3 different batches, 3 different classes. And there's a visible increase in all the 3 tests in the level of achievements. Next slide, please. So after 2016, the 3 batches, we had the 2018 cohort, which had only 2 classes. And we used the same 6 reading activities and writing activities in the same kind of a method. There was a pre-test, then there was a first post-test and the second post-test. Next slide. Again, we can see the increase, the involvement levels. The pre-test, you see it is below 0.75, 0.75. Within a year, it touched almost 1. And everything else, even in the then the first post-test and the second post-test as well. Because, students for the first time coming to school, many of them probably with no linguistic or educational background, coming into an environment where their teachers signing, students signing, all deaf environment, visible increase in the involvement levels. Next slide, please. After the involvement, which we saw that there was increase, and we noticed that within the achievement levels also in writing, specifically the writing tasks and reading tasks, we do see that the change is not that much, but the others, after the involvement, the first post test, you see how there's the rise, and then the second post test, the rise. Even during the first, the pre-test, there are visible increase in the achievement levels. Next slide, please. So the conclusion is that the involvement and achievement, how are we getting the increase in their levels of involvement and achievement? That we are giving them a deaf-friendly environment. They're more interested, and the kind of environment you're giving has direct influence on this. And the fact is that we are working with the nature of how a deaf child learns, which is not just reading, writing, it's multimodal. They're happy, they're learning through experiences and activities. Even challenging things, they are learning in an environment which is conducive and positive. So that pressure is not there, which is psychologically very nice for all children. So we have to focus on developing the multiple skills, which again are multimodal and multilingual. We have to use art, drama, drawing, sign, multimedia. We are talking about the 2016 cohort, and there was such a we noticed such an increase in their writing and reading activities. There was a huge change, moving from word levels to sentence level and signing phrases basically. We also learned that before writing comes reading, and with good reading skills, writing also develops because you're understanding the concept and can express the same. And it was a very, very good experience, and I would like to end it there. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Can we switch, please, now to put Deepu in this presenter window and his PowerPoint? Deepu to be in the presenter window, please.
Can I switch my photograph rather than Deepu, Muni? Uma ma'am, can you just switch myself and to make it Deepu?
Yes, that's what I just now told them that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to start. The Nirav presentation was over. Now it's next to me. So I'm going to say about thank you so much, CIL, for inviting us, and thank you so much, and you're giving your valuable time to us as well. So I want to say about the World Sign Language Day. It's like we all congratulate everybody, and we are happy to celebrate today. And now I'm going to start. The topic is all about two group. I'm going to say about two groups. One is all about the project and 4 years project what we did about how what about the interest we had and the research. And the second group is all about English game. You know, the grammar English grammar game. So here the first group is all about it's about the flexible the materials the things we used to give them, and it's in India and also in rules. Uganda. So we have the two places they have usually play, and they, you know, to see and to research about it, the interest level and the student interest, the children interest about the materials and how they come to learn so easily, and the interest level is getting more and more. So about the, you know, the different activities also coming. So this is how the first I'm going to explain over here. The next slide, please. The next slide.
Next slide, please.
Next slide, please. Yeah. Here you can see the methodology about the project. The teacher teaches to the, you know, different childrens, and how to give the, you know, research of different you know, data, the data which we collect from the teachers and all. Then the study of the, you know, the study of 33 in Hindi students, 22. Inside that we have a group of two groups, A and B. We have two groups where Uganda, we also have one more group, 11 students of people will there. The data which we collect is about the multi rules, multi literacy and all, how to teach about the multi literacy, and you know, the topic which we teach. After 1 month, the timing will be, the time duration will be 1 month, 2 or 3 or 4 will be the topic. After completing that report, once they give us the report about the materials, about the study, what they have taught to the children, about the project, the rules. So there we just collect that in India and Uganda also we have collected these two things. And after that, MCS micro study, which we have already written in that. So in that rule, the topic is all about what we have selected, and out of that we have to focus one of the things which the children has to be, you know, materials should be easy and it will be very accessible for them. The teacher has to type it out all about, and then the target will be given to them, and different topics, the, you know, the things after 1 month MCS one target has to be followed. And then slowly they have to go the data which we have collected, all the datas, and there we have to give the multi literacy and all the MCS and all the data which we collect, and there we have to go for the access and different diversity we are going to make it. The data which we collect, that is all about MCS and the multi studies. Next slide, please. Here the data which we have, the MCS and the rules which you have already given, the materials the use should be in a 4 different ways, different 4 groups which we have. What meaning is all about, what we are going to take a pictures, or maybe the download of videos, or maybe the teacher what they have discussed, or maybe the children what they are talking about. That is a group, or third group, who. The second group is also who. So who is this? We have to make some materials, and the children has to make something, or the teacher has to make something. The student and teacher both has to be share who is going to make that. That is a second group. And the third group is how we are going to explain them, and how, where, what the things is going on, like some example of game, different exercise, or maybe some word, or maybe different things we are going to make it, that how. And then why, the fourth group is why, what is our aim, what is our thinking, why we are going to do this, why we enjoy and why the interest level is coming. Why we have to remember everything, the memories of the things, the behavior, and all the things, the four groups which we have made, that the rules and the NCS, this which we are the rule which we are going to give, this all the four groups we have to switch, and the number which we are going to give, the entire number, then we have to show the data after this four group. It will be easy for us. Next slide, please. Here the Excel which we are going to show the group of these four groups which we have talked about, the number of code that they have to download, and the entire number we have to give them. For an example, we have to remember the BN. So where if you want to go for a topic like which topic we are going to talk, so all together we have to go for the data scoreboard, where we have to remember only the things to have to be merged, and then we have to go for, and then the come ups in a very bigger scale, and then we have to go and talk to each people of each students, how to make, where to make, what game they wanted to play, what type of teacher and students have to be discussed. This entire things comes all together. Then there the research comes up, and then we have to discuss with each and everybody, and the memories, and the remember we have to talk every unity, the data which we have talked about, the code which we have talked about, is all about the same similar thing we are going to do, the enjoy things, or maybe the game we are going to make a data, the data we have to collect and we have to research, and that will be a material for things. Sort of.
There is a raised hand.
Just give me 1 minute. I'm just pinning Deepu. So can we go on to the next slide, please? So what we are talking about is how we break down the activities, and we have coded those data. So basically you're talking about materials, video materials, which we are using for children, which are both things which they like and which can be used for learning. We are using these kind of materials. We are making these kind of materials, same as used for teaching. Same, the teacher is also helping the students to make. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, there's someone needs to mute their mic. I'm sorry.
Conversion of X file into Excel file. And tomorrow I am going to reserve for
Hi, sir, can you please mute?
mail bet that we will complete within 1 hour. Next 1 hour for your doubt clearing session. Is it okay? Any doubts? Any?
Alka, can you mute your mic, please?
If you want to show,
So the primary idea here is that we want to give and use material which the children are familiar with. We want to adapt to their ways of learning. And we have found these from the MCS and the RLE, real life English examples, which we use. And we found that this kind of learning is really beneficial for the children. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So this is one example about numbers were being taught, and they were taught through materials which the students themselves had designed. For example, they had a toy train with different wagons, and every wagon or every bogie, as we say, had numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So they're making it themselves, which helps them identify recall and also take interest in that. The same thing they would also post in class so that they can retain and recall. And we had groups, every group had 4 children. They would make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and like that. We saw that these visual materials really have a good impact where teachers, can take a step back, where students themselves are communicating with each other. They're learning, they're signing, they are saying, what is this word? They're spelling to each other. So we are using the multi-literacies again with these children. And we saw that children were learning in a very joyful environment without any anxiety or pressure, which we think is very nice. Next slide. Another example is that we would let the children themselves, for example, have a lead. A student who's stronger than the others had good language background, and the activity would be time based. We are making the concept of time. We are understanding the concept of time. So what time is birth? What time is breakfast? What time is bath time? What time is play time? And the children themselves, one child will ask that, what time do you take a bath? What time do you eat food? 9. Okay, then the child would point it at 9 o'clock. What time do you take a bath? And they would say, no, you don't take bath at 9, you bathe at 11. So there was intergroup conversations. They were also critiquing themselves. The other children who were not learning, they were also learning. There were some who would not be so involved. And our traditional methods, which always do not encourage children to come onto the platform or take things in their own hands, not practical much. And here the peers, the tutors basically are encouraging the children to teach and guide the other students themselves, which help in memory, retention, and recall. Next slide. The next example is from the school in Uganda. You may be knowing a famous story called The Three Little Pigs, and one of the pigs who is smart enough and builds a strong house. So there was a story which was shared with them, and then all of them went out with the teacher and started making homes of the same one. How to make a strong home. They collected mud, water, made clay, built a house. You see it in the picture. They would also, first draw it, and then they would understand door, terrace, window, wall. And similarly, they would make a small size, but a real kind of a model, which is a very interactive process where they're really discussing a lot. And this is what we call applied learning. Because in classrooms, if you keep on learning, you are putting information in your head, but you are not practically visualizing that information. So real life experiences really help deaf children and other children also. You learn and you also apply that in school, where the child, that image or that iconic thing in your head is there concrete. And this is actual skill as well as interest, because it's an activity, and this is a material, it's a TLM which the children are making themselves and using as well. Next slide, please. This topic was, this is really important because the real life examples and the micro case studies, we found that something really important was the method of giving some break, before learning. After some time, you introduce the same topic, not immediately, but give it some time. And then, it improves the learning, because the child has already learned that concept, and you space it and you repeat the same thing, the same content. Or otherwise, you also do what is called modified repetition. It's the same content, but it's reintroduced in some other time in a different way. It could be numbers related. First you understand 2 plus 3 on the board, then you do it with a pen. Same thing in a different modality, 2 pens and 3 pens together, 5 pens. So again, we see how visual materials improve memory, and we use the spaced repetition and modified repetition concept, which really helps deaf learners. It's a very effective strategy, and it helps improve and builds on their concept. Next slide, please. Along with that, the visual materials which we were talking about, that all our learning is based from the real life experience of these children, and we are making materials which helps them, and it could be different models. And now we would like to share what we actually think. The conclusion is that yes, this is about the game called the EGG, or the English grammar game. This is really interesting, and you can learn this and you can try it in your school as well. So probably also you might be knowing that it is a major issue developing English literacy in deaf children. People think that this is the biggest barrier. So how do we actually work on this? We have to think out of the box. We have to use because what we learn in the books most often does not have any practical use outside. There's so much content outside. So social media, the posters, the hoardings, the symbols, the things on the road which we see, these also are, these phrases, these texts which we have, they have their own grammar and they're very important, which we now thought we use these, and we call this real life English. And there are no rules. It's really open. Whatever the child sees, wherever they see it, whichever situation they are, we take that and we discuss that. Let's go on to the next slide and we see an example. So that's one example of real life English. That's the first step. If you see the picture, I mean, we first put a picture in front and we discuss, how, for example, we're discussing how are clothes made. And within this context, whatever we are seeing in this picture, we'll talk about how the place of how the, from the texture, then how it comes to the shop.
He's saying
I'm
that
really sorry.
the PPT, you have to pin on the PPT, please. Just click on CIIL bid conference and see that what Deepu is signing. You can see that. Can you see the
But
picture?
then I can't see Deepu.
No, Deepu will be in a smaller screen. Fine, I'll do it then. I'll do it for the timing.
Yes, please. Can you take over, Alka? Thank you.
Okay, you can see the first RLE, the real life English, where we have already explained over here. The second group is all about the second step, where the things, the CC, here RLE and the example which have been connected here, we have to put out over here. And the third one is the step where we have to practice again and again and then make a sentence and then study about the, like for studies as house, or maybe how home, or maybe this place to this example of this picture to the sign of that. We have to move and we have to add. That is how we have to practice. The idea will be like from here to here, and then we have to use each and everything after the word bite to buy, next to next. The Kerala or maybe Odisha, the different state we have to say, we have to compare with the game. Next slide, please. Here we have a group. You can see the PPT. We have a group. We have already done this. Like for an example, computer photograph, which we have given. Here we have to see CC. like the grammar game which we have already talked about, EGG. And that game we have to match, we have to merge, and this is the laptop means this is the game of a picture. So it's like we have to throw a pen, or we have to throw like a small things. Okay, here we have to pin over here. So this thing has to be attached. So this game and this picture we have to show them, and this has to be, you know, the hand wash, or maybe some sanitizer, or talking about this we have to add while seeing this DO about the body. It's some small thing like yours CC of something.
Alka, I'll take over. I found the PPT. So this is an example of the game session. They see a picture on the computer, and you know, they will write on chits.
Washing hands.
Oh, washing hands. I'm sorry. Can we go to another slide? The slide before this, please. Number 13.
Yeah, this one. Next one, please. Yeah, this one.
All right. Anyway, Deepu says can we just go to the conclusions and observations slide, please? The last slide.
Yeah, this one.
The
Here we have
conclusion and
already
observation.
about the class training and all. The student has to be teaching each and everything, like the unity should be there. About the peer groups we have to talk about, and then the peer group have understood and this thing has been matched together. Then the teacher has the responsibility to take care and to go on. And the visualize, you know, the visual materials they have to remember, that should be in a memory for them to be easily to catch up and to understand. If they don't show the visual, it will be not that easy. So for an example, like grammar, English grammar game, so which we have teach them every time. We don't teach a book, so we have planned in a different way that has been DLE, that where the children has an interest level to learn and the interest level come up. So if we show some visualize things, it's very important that teacher go and teaching, and the skill should be very much the skill and the age of that, you know, the level of that. Everywhere the level is not same, right? Every children is not having the same level of brain and everything. So teacher has to be, you know, the skill is very qualified, skill should be there with the teacher. So that is all about my conclusion. Thank you so much for giving me a chance. Thank you so much. From
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. Now it's back to me for a summary. I'm sorry that for some reason my camera is not working now. I don't know why. Can we have a interpreter in the inset window? Okay. Let me see if my camera will work. Anyway, you have seen me before. Can you please put Saurav in the small window for interpreting? Yes, thank you. I'm sorry that you can't see me at the moment. For some reason, my camera is malfunctioning. But anyway, we have my voice and the interpreter. That should be good enough. So thank you very much for these two presentations. I would like to add a few more comments. Firstly, all this work and a lot more work that we have been doing will be in a forthcoming book. We are going to publish a 2-volume book with, I believe, 16 or 18 chapters, where work by Nirav and by Deepu and by a lot of other collaborators from our 3 countries is going to be published. So I invite everyone who is interested in this topic to keep a lookout for these 2 volumes. The title is Read, Write Easy. And then the same title as this presentation. So Research, Practice and Innovation in Deaf Multiliteracies. And for me, the biggest lesson from these several years of research is that we need deaf professionals in roles of deaf education. This is now our focus, because using sign language as your first language in a deaf education, whether children or adults, this is a very powerful way, not only because of the signing that is, you know, at complete level, but also because of the kind of peer group feeling and the role model issue that the deaf teachers can convey to their learners. So when deaf learners see someone deaf teaching them, they can raise their aspirations, and they'll think that one day I might be a teacher too, or I might be an architect, or I might be whatever I want to be. So this is a very powerful message to deaf learners, to have a deaf tutor teaching them. And of course, the visual communication and the communication through sign language that you've seen here will be particularly highlighted. And one of these experiments is now going to be our next focus of work, and that's the English grammar games that we've just seen. So the main point of the English grammar games is that we again teach in a different way that is meaningful and it takes us away from a one-way teaching where the learners are passively sitting and only looking at the teachers or copying whatever is being delivered to them. So learners have to be active. The active role of learners is something, again, very powerful. So in the English grammar games, you start with this real life English, like Deepu showed in the example, any visual poster or a cartoon or anything you might see in a newspaper, or anything you are interested in. Learners can make their own choice. And then on the basis of this, we pull out grammatical structures and we practice them with more examples. And so you can play this game and you can learn about grammar without ever saying that something is a conjunction or something is a preposition, or using a lot of technical language. Rather, you focus on comparing sign language structures and English grammar structures, and you learn in a playful way. The emphasis is on reading a lot of different materials and writing a lot of different sentences. And the playful environment is something quite different from a normal classroom. So what we want to do next is to train other deaf tutors for this kind of program. We have planned several rounds of training, so that what Nirav and Deepu are doing now, and also some other people who have been involved. So this kind of teaching should be available more widely in India. And so hopefully next year, if we give another presentation in any forum, we should be able to have more results on English grammar games and the role of deaf professionals. We will now, I believe, open the floor to questions. I would like to check with Uma whether you would like to add any remark at the end.
Yes, it was number one. Thank you, Ulrike, Deepu, and Nirav for the wonderful presentation. It was an excellent presentation. We are very fortunate to know the various work you people have been doing. It's interesting to know for almost 6 years you are developing the multilingual and multimodal skills with the deaf learners, with different types of learning materials. It was wonderful to see how visual medium can influence the learning of deaf children. These the tasks what you have been introducing over various methods, especially with combination of assessment methods, learning inside the classroom, outside the classroom, and many other teaching techniques were used. I believe the audience will have some questions, and at the end I would like to add a few more things like what we could do in CIL with you people, or maybe we can have an open discussion. There are some faculty of the CIL in this Google Meet. Maybe people will have some ideas, but first I would like to open this presentation for discussion and take questions from the audience.
Thank you. Can I just add one more apology that because of technical reasons we are a bit over the time, so I will have to join another meeting in about 10 minutes. I don't want to disturb the discussions, so I'm requesting Deepu and Nirav and Uma and the interpreters to manage, and in about 10 minutes I will have to log off. But thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to be with everyone.
Yes, in that case, maybe if anyone has questions for Ulrike, can we take the questions first for Ulrike and then we can have other discussions with Deepu and Mira? Questions for Ulrike? Okay, so let me start. Like if somebody wants to raise their hand, they will do it. So Ulrike, I was just wondering, you said like you are using different assessment methods. Like, do you find the difference in these methods while teaching the children in India versus Uganda? Does culture have any impact in their learning?
Thank you. We did the same assessment with all 3 countries, and because the underlying philosophy of these assessments was the same, that is, do not give pressure to the children, and don't just have right and wrong answers and calculate how many answers have been right or wrong, but assess what children can do in a more comprehensive kind of way. So this works in all cultures, but the important thing is that we make all learning particular to its context. So because learners in their context have been designing their own learning materials. Both children and adults have been doing that. As I said, we want active learning by everyone. So because everybody designs their own materials and chooses their own materials, so automatically they choose what is relevant to their culture. And so we don't give a fixed textbook to everyone. We don't give a fixed curriculum and say you must go through this particular text in this particular way. It's up to the grassroots group to decide, and we support the tutors with documenting and with leading the learning.
Do you think did you observe any learning styles or preferences by male or female learners?
No, we did not observe that. What we did observe in different contexts is with the older learners, so groups of young adults. There was a difference whether they are in a formal school context or whether they are in an informal context. So some of our groups were in a secondary school, for example, the group in Ghana, and some of them were in NGO settings where they didn't have any other exams or any other context. They were just interested in the learning. So when people were in a school context, then they would try to ask our tutors to please help us so we score better in our exams, and please help us with our own textbooks. And that was a bit difficult to manage because our aim was to have a flexible kind of learning, but students can be, once they get to secondary school, they can be under a lot of pressure to perform well in the traditional school curriculum. So then we had to manage this need alongside the other innovations in learning. We have a hand up now from Samar.
Samar Sinha. Yes, thank you. Now, Samar.
Hi, I'm Samar. My sign name is this. I would like to basically know, it's not related directly with this talk, but I would like to know what are the other literacy campaigns that is going on around the world and as well as in our part of the country, so that we can also know a little more about it.
Yes. Actually, I think we should probably say that campaign for literacy and deaf people is a continuous thing. It never stops because it's always, even in the most well-resourced countries, it's still a problem. There is a particularly interesting large-scale program in the US at Gallaudet University about quite similar issues we have been discussing here, visual learning and the different types of skills development. This is quite useful. Otherwise, literacy is a continuous issue everywhere, and often policies keep changing, and the basic barrier to literacy still remains the same. I think perhaps Nirav and Deepu can also comment more on the situation in India. There are many NGOs nowadays in the deaf communities who teach adults, and literacy is one of the main activities there. To enter the school system is more complicated. Shall we ask Nirav and Deepu about adult initiatives in India on literacy? Can you add something?
Yes, Deepu says yes.
Deepu says yes. Now Deepu is saying that in Uganda's system, the age is getting more and more 18 and above people who is going, and in India.
Talking about India.
In India, yeah, in India, 18 and above people who goes for NGO, and they have a different NGO where the deaf teacher is going and coming over there. The deaf teacher is teaching English, and the time is actually too late. And here the NGO, there are a lot of NGO in India also. We have, in Kerala, we have a different NGO, and in Delhi, we also have an NGO. There are a lot of NGO in different states. So here the deaf teacher has to teach, and the English is very long. It's very late time for them to go for school, and the school is not that, the system is also very very slow. So that is how the problem is
Thank
all
you.
about.
Just
Now Neerav is saying that here in
yes.
sign
Sorry,
language
just 1
in
minute.
India we don't
Note
have
to the sorry. Well, can I interrupt? Note to the to the technicians. If Nirav and Deepu are signing, can you put them in a bigger window, please? It's hard to see them.
I do have a little bit a side question related to that. I come from a northeast part of India, so Sikkim and Darjeeling, basically, where especially for deaf literacy, still we are relying either on the missionary activities or the NGOs, where they practice as they what it suits them. That's why I was asking what are the international campaigns so that it reaches down to this part also. Otherwise, we are mostly located in urban centers of the country. But whereas if you look into smaller places like where I come from, most of the deaf people get isolated because they don't know and the access is not there. Therefore, I was asking about the kind of campaigns that is going on. Otherwise, it will be as traditional as missionary and as what NGO thinks. So I was talking about something about this something international standard way of imparting literacy.
Thank you. Yes. I mean, as you probably know, in the industrialized countries, the attempt is now to solve deafness by cochlear implants. And so their attempt is now again focused on a lot of oral and oral rehabilitation, because in some Western countries, the rate of cochlear implants is very, very high now. So this is now a big focus. And the literacy through sign language is really, unfortunately, has been going backwards, especially in Europe. It is still to some extent there in the US, like the program I mentioned, but in Europe, a lot of the development is actually backwards now. Deaf schools closing, everything focused on cochlear implants and oral rehabilitation, and sign language in schools, again, a big access problem. So actually, in some ways, India, I think, will be ahead of many other countries, because the deaf community in India is so big, and there's so much potential there, and also technological potential. Maybe some of you have heard that Indian Sign Language has become a school subject at secondary school under the National Institute of Open Schooling, in which again our group has collaborated, and some lectures are already there online. So India is actually doing very well nowadays, and probably has much more potential. Good. I do have to leave the meeting now. I'm very sorry.
Thank you.
Apologies to you also, Uma, and everybody at CIIL. Nirav and Deepu are still here, so they will answer your further questions.
Thank you, Ulrike. Thank you so much on behalf of my institute for being with us today.
Thank you. Apologies for my camera and other tech problems.
We had so many other things to ask you, but I'm sure Deepu and Nirav will be
Yes,
here with
yes.
us some more time.
Yes.
We'll catch up over the email. Some of my colleagues, if they want to interact with you, I'm going to share your email with them, so we may ask you
Yes,
more.
let me put my email in the chat also.
Yeah, I will share your email with people. All right. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you, and bye.
Nirav is saying, because can interpreter be changed in the main present screen? Both Deepu and Nirav is in the presenter screen, so can you switch to interpreter? Yeah, they wanted to say the interpreter actually.
Yes, right now you are. Yeah, now Nirav is here, and you want the interpreter in the main screen, right? Interpreter.
Oh yes,
Alka, it is
who is just letting us know that we have to be a little aware that the YouTube live stream has to show, because it has to show the person who is signing, because the sound is already there. It shouldn't be that there are two people, both interpreters are signing. We just have to take care of that part.
yeah. Any questions for Deepu and Nirav?
Deepu says, any question?
So, like, I would like to know something from both of them. They must have been tutoring many people, I guess, for several years. They have they tried to be with a group to teach? Right now, you showed us games which are designed for learning English language. Are you also using any softwares or any other materials to teach Indian language grammar games or some other digital tools for learning or using Indian languages with the help of science?
Here, Nirav is saying, can you see? Nirav is saying over here the project where the English, you're asking about the English language, where India is having their own subjects and all. That's what you're asking, right? The project,
Yes, they are using. They showed us some experiments.
Ma'am, Nirav says that the program, the P2P deaf multiliteracies, is based on sign language to English literacy only. So if you're talking about other spoken languages, we would have to have a different project, because the P2P software, P2P project is focusing only on English. Why? Because English is a lingua franca, ma'am, is being used so much. So, and it is favored, it's preferred by the deaf community. That is the reason focusing on English.
Deepu wants to say over here something.
Can we
You want to
spotlight?
add?
So with this question, I also would like to add that yes, as Nirav said, that we are focusing only on English, and that is what we had been working on, because that is most used within the deaf community, and we already have a model. This same model and the strategies and the methodology can be utilized and somehow replicated while teaching other languages like Hindi, Tamil, Malayalam, or some other language, because we are still using the multimodal. So same kind of visual learning, where the child is learning from real life English examples, we can apply those to other spoken languages as well, and this can be tried out.
Question from me, and then maybe if others have. See, since again you are saying you're interested more in using English, are you using, or are there any interactive dictionaries that have Indian Sign Language equivalents for you, where the kids can, where suppose you touch something, and do you have any visual images of somebody making the signs for you of that word? Like how for us we have talking dictionaries for hearing people, likewise, do you have anything
Talking
interactive dictionaries
ma'am, talking
with
dictionaries
signs?
for hearing people?
No, for example, we do have talking dictionaries in many languages, right? You touch a word or something and you hear the word, pronunciation, or you want to know more about the word, you can, there are many interactive dictionaries available. My question is, that is for people who can hear. How about for the deaf community? Are there any such dictionaries available? Visual dictionaries, where you have a word and they want to know what it is, and maybe through science. Are there any such dictionaries, or do you have any plans, Ulrike and her team, do you have plans to develop such dictionaries?
Ma'am, just to confirm your question, are you talking about an English word and the ISL translation of that word?
Yes.
A dictionary that way?
It can be reversible also. Okay, let us take English word and they want to learn new words, and then how do they learn using the science?
Ma'am, I'm
Like
sorry,
the
I'm a
meaning
little
of the,
confused in your question. You want to say,
okay,
is
for
the
example,
visual
1
dictionary
minute.
available in ISL? There is an English word
Not
and there's a
ISL.
translation in
Not
ISL.
ISL.
No?
I'm not saying ISL. From English to ISL.
Yes, ma'am, the ISL RTC has their own dictionary, no, on YouTube.
I'm asking, for example, if you have an English word, you may have a ISL equivalent, and the reverse also. If for an ISL word, do you have English equivalent? Since you're saying people are doing language games, serious games, do you build some language games using such interactive dictionaries where children can learn more and find it more attractive?
Ma'am, so
Like
at this point in time, we don't have the technology for recognition, no? What technology will recognize the sign and give a word? So this is something in the future.
okay. So maybe people should do that, because people are nowadays with artificial intelligence, people are doing several things. Maybe this interpretation with sign language and some interactive dictionaries can be very interesting for children, because you are developing serious
Ma'am,
games.
I'm sorry to cut you.
So
What says that this is not an easy technology, because the spoken language,
yeah, it is
you
not
know, the
easy.
modality. I'm sorry, ma'am. He's just give him time to finish up. So he says that, you know, this has been tried by people wearing bio, plugs and stuff like that, and avatar, an avatar having the sign. But then again, this is just the hands. The grammar part of sign language comes from the paralinguistic aspect, like the face and expressions. How would AI get that? So this is again in the futuristic technology.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I understand that. So any other questions from others?
Ma'am, Deepu wants to add something.
Yes, please.
Deepu says that what you actually asked is really great and it's interesting also. And you know what is there, that the translation from English to ISL, there are many associations working on that. You can see the ISL RTC video dictionary in sign language YouTube, the DEF and other companies as well. But the vice versa is difficult. But somewhere in the West, so the hand shapes, they different kind of hand
1 to
shapes,
5.
1, hand shape 2, hand shape 5, hand shape number 5. So they have developed this kind of a technology where on the body, if you place a hand shape, it can give you a sign. But then does this really help education? Does this really help in people developing? I mean, we have to have a feedback, we have to have a survey, because the signs are to be made on your face, on your temple or your cheek. Where is it being made? So you have to connect the hand shape with the place and the location of the sign. But of course, this work is not complete. There has to be more work on done this and see how this works out.
Yeah, I understand. Maybe a lot of such whatever you are doing now, maybe a huge corpus should be created from which the machine can learn, and at least a little bit. I'm sure it is going to be a very complex and difficult job, but it is important to create a Indian sign language corpus for understanding words, or how you make the signs for words, and slowly move on to sentence level, and then beyond that, when you have multiple meanings for a word, there comes the complexity. I understand that, but Maybe that would be interesting. That was just a loud thinking from my side. I have no experience in working on sign languages, but fascinated by your talks. And since we are interested in taking up new projects at the CIL through some centers, maybe we will think of working with deaf multi-literacies and how we can contribute to our Indian society in a very meaningful way. That's what I would like to add as my concluding statement. And if there are any questions from others, please, the audience, if you have any questions. Anybody else? No one. All right, so it was a wonderful evening with Ulrike, Deepu, Nirav, and also the signers Saurav and Alka. We really enjoyed this. This was our first experience in our institute to host such a program digitally. Though we have done physically in the past, it was there were some hiccups which took almost 1 hour for us to solve. That was a limitation due to the Google Meet host control options, and otherwise our technicians were trying their best. I apologize for keeping you all waiting for almost an hour, and I thank you on behalf of the institute for giving us a new experience. I think in future we will have more such talks to learn more about your practices and innovations in multimodal multiliteracies when it comes to ISL. Thank you, Deepu, Nirav, Saurav, and Alka, and the audience who are here waiting since 3 o'clock. There were many people, former directors and also the present director, Shailandra Mohan, and many others who were here. We will also upload this video on different social media after a little editing, and we will send to Ulrike and her research team for their archiving as well. Thank you once again, and I appreciate your patience with our group. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you,
Anything you
everyone.
want to say?
Thank you from Neera. Neera was saying we'll have contact for next future. We'll have been, and thank you for inviting us. And Deepu is saying, I hope we'll next year we can have again the same thing.
We will do that next year, and we will be more sophisticated.
And Neera
We
was
promise
saying,
you.
Neera was saying, can you just sign? It's one idea we want. Can you just show us
They
one
want you to
sign?
copy. They want you to copy what the teacher is doing, okay?
Oh, okay.
Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, we will, and it was a new experience for all of us. But
No, where teachers
despite
are
the
saying you
initial,
will have to copy. The teacher is going to sign something, you have to copy.
now
Okay,
they're saying
international.
this is a International Sign Language Day. So you just copy, and by looking at them, you just copy that.
oh, okay. So tell us how to do, because I'm sorry, we
You
cannot.
just copy. You just copy.
What should we do?
You just see Nirav is doing.
We will do it. So
Nirav.
the audience are requested to follow.
All right, see, look at Nirav.
Please
Yes,
look at
we are looking
Nirav.
at him.
And you also continue doing that.
Happy.
This is
Yes.
happy sign. This is sign.
This is happy.
Language.
Happy. Day.
Happy. Day.
This is the deaf applause.
And this is clapping.
This is deaf applause.
Okay.
This is the clapping sign for a deaf.
Okay.
And you can do this
and this
also.
Is, I love you.
Thank you.
This is love you, and
you.
this is bye and thank you.
How do you say I love you?
I love you.
I love
That you can see
This
it.
is, you can see Nirav and see Deepu. They
Nice.
are saying like this. I love you.
Deaf applause.
Okay. The applause. Okay. Great. So it was a new experience,
Bye-bye.
amazing experience. Bye bye. How do you say? Okay.
This is bye bye.
All right. Okay. Oh, that's something we all do right from childhood. Yes. Yes. So that's lovely. I really enjoyed your presentation.
See,
And
the
such a
language, spoken language also has a lot of visual elements in it.
yes, non-verbal
This
communication
is
is there.
actually not.
And it
Deepu is
was-
saying that. Sorry, ma'am. Deepu is saying that it's a gesture normally we follow from the childhood. Like home, we usually say home. Food, which we use say buy. You say normally house, food. Visual
Yes.
language, what we do, that is the thing which the sign language has been done. That is just a gesture to the sign language. That is what
Okay.
Deepu is saying. And one more thing, if you wanted to learn sign language, then we have NGO name called, you can contact Basic Sign Language and you can go for that and you can just 1 month training. You can have a small communication with the deaf people and the hearing people can get connected. Just to be a united way, you can just go and learn us basic sign language. That's what Deepu is saying.
Wow, wonderful. We will do that. And I once again thank all of you and appreciate your skills. And main thing is, I also I wanted to say I love you and I am happy to be associated with you. On behalf of the institute, I thank each and every one of the deaf community all over the world who are contributing in a very meaningful way to their own community. And we will support your linguistic rights because your linguistic rights is as much important as my linguistic right. So that is something we want to do for you. I also thank Pavan and Tejas for the struggle they took since yesterday evening to make this event possible, and Saurav and Alka for excellent signing and patience and cooperation with all of us who are amateurs in this kind of event. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. So, bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, I don't know. I'm trying my best to follow you, but next time I will try to speak at least 1 or 2 lines using signs. Thank you. Okay. Bye bye, especially to Deepu and Nirav. Bye. Yeah. I also thank Ulrike. We will write to her. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Alka. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Please,